When I started looking at this topic more than 10 years back, and I wanted to explain what platforms are to people, I had to compare and contrast it with what platforms are not. And the traditional model of business is what I think of as a pipeline, where you create a product or a service, you ship it out, and there's a consumer sitting at the other end consuming all of this and paying for that with money. And that's a simple, basic manufacturing, product-based, service-based business model that we're aware of in the traditional economy. And the reason this business model existed was because we succeeded with 3 technologies. The first technology applied to the production side, which was assembly line manufacturing. We learned how to create a lot of products, a lot of goods in factories, and we learned to build at scale. The second important technology that we got really good at was mass media and mass advertising. So on the consumer side, we learned how to convince a lot of consumers to buy. And so we had production scale, we had consumption scale, and the third technology then came along, container shipping, which allowed us to create global supply chains to connect these 2 sides. And that is how traditional business models were built on the back of these 3 technologies. What's happening today is there are 4 other technologies that are coming up, especially over the last 10 years, that are accelerating a shift away from this business model to an entirely new business model. And when I think of these 4 technologies, I talked about them briefly. The first is connectivity. 2007, with the iPhone, the computer moved from something we sat and interacted with at a desk to something that was in our pockets. So connectivity has been increasing. Machines are becoming connected. Business processes are becoming connected. Connectivity is one of those drivers. The second driver is digitization. When you have this global connected infrastructure called the internet, and when you are able to digitize all of a user's actions or a machine's performance on this common connected infrastructure, you can create entirely new markets, and that is a new business model that was not possible in the past. In the past, you had to manufacture at scale and consume at scale, but today you can create distributed markets without requiring such mass manufacturing and mass consumption. What then happens is the companies that are most successful today are the ones who are able to manage these markets best, who are able to manage these markets of producers and consumers. And when these companies start managing producers and consumers centrally, they start gathering a lot of data, which helps them benefit from AI and machine learning, because they can learn from this data. And this is what has happened with companies like Amazon, Facebook, Google. All of these companies which started creating markets 15 years back, today have incredible data prowess and incredible capabilities in AI and machine learning because of all the data that was generated in their business models. Going forward, what's happening is that with the rise of technologies like blockchain, we are now no longer just looking at the internet or at processes that use the internet. We are looking at entirely alternate infrastructures. If you look at a company like Maersk out here in Copenhagen, Maersk has launched a blockchain which digitizes a ship's entire shipment cycle from port to port, digitizing all the warehouse activity, the port logistics, all in one central place. And if you think of something like that, going forward, we don't necessarily even need to rely only on parts of the economy which are completely digitized by the internet. We can have new infrastructures, whether it's blockchain, whether it's some other infrastructure, to digitize other parts of our economy as well. So it's a combination of these 4 forces that is leading us to an entirely new business model that I like to think of as the platform business model, where the producer does not ship products to the consumer and build at scale and just manage that whole business. The business now is not in the business of production. It's in the business of creating a central open infrastructure on which external producers come in and connect, and they create and produce value on top of this infrastructure. And if you look at any company today, when we talk about companies like Airbnb, Facebook, Google, Amazon, all of them work like platforms that connect external producers with external consumers and enable them to interact with each other.